We're about to cover a game that apparently journalists and big YouTubers seem to hate, but I think it's freaking awesome. It's Godfall. Let's get into it. Before we get this video started, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Gearbox Studios as well as Counterplay Games for providing the review copy of this game. It's definitely something that since the PlayStation 5 announcement, I saw the initial trailer and the months that led up to the release of the PlayStation 5, I've had incredible hype for this game. And honestly, in playing it, I have not been let down, which leads me to wonder why there's so much hate for it, which I don't know. I feel like things that I like, video game journalists seem to not like, and I guess it kind of is what it is. I don't know. But anyway, in this video, we're going to be covering the entirety of Godfall. We're going to cover the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, gameplay, graphics, story, audio, all that. You know how I do, the whole shebang. Yeah, we're basically going to be covering everything. But before we do that, if you can do me a huge favor, sub to the channel if you haven't already for more content just like this. I have a smorgasbord of reviews for tech, gaming, and so much more, podcasts and more. So definitely do that. And if you want to catch me streaming, I stream every single week on twitch.tv/MikhailKasanova. And the #1 podcast in Hawaii and the #1 podcast in Pacific, the Kasanova Podcast, hosted by your boy, is available on all major podcasting outlets. So with all that out the way, let's go ahead and get into Godfall and why I think you should actually play and try the game yourself versus listening to all the popular journalists and YouTubers. They're probably bashing this game for clicks. Let's get into it. The story of Godfall is set in a high fantasy setting in a world with multiple yet distinctly different realms: earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. It follows the journey of Orin, a member of the Knight's Order who was betrayed by his brother Macros, who sought to overthrow him and rule the realms and ascend to godhood. Rising from defeat, Orin sets to right the wrongs committed by his brother, restore the realm, and have his vengeance. Now, on the surface, you would think that the plot of this game is not very deep. However, there are codex entries where you can get more information as to the world, the lore, the characters, and more. And I know most people would want that presented in a story, but if you think about it, how this is so similar to Warframe and the Souls style games, your basic information as to the world and lore building is generally through text and data logs. So I don't personally have any issue with this. I think this is a very good story with a lot of intrigue, especially the cliffhanger ending. And I think it's worth taking time to read, which I know a lot of people don't like reading now, but take a second and just read the codex because there's a lot you might actually like and find out in them. If you play Warframe or any Souls game, then you'll be at home here, as this game borrows heavily from those two titles, along with God of War, Destiny, and Diablo even. Instead of being a standard hack and slash or looter shooter, Godfall is a hack and slash looter with RPG elements similar to Destiny and Diablo, and the controls are an amalgamation of God of War 2018 and Demon Souls / Dark Souls, with your attacks being mapped to the shoulder buttons. The button layout has you using cross to dodge, circle to open chests, and warp jump to new platforms. Square allows you to heal yourself. Triangle switches your primary and secondary weapon. Shoulder buttons consist of L1 being your block and parry, L2 being your charge up ability, R1 is your light attack, and R2 is your heavy attack. Pressing down on the D-pad does a quick 180 turn, with the left stick controlling movement and L3 controlling sprinting. And the right stick controls the camera movement, and R3 allowing you to lock onto your enemies and curb stomp and kill your enemies. In combat, you have a variety of moves in your arsenal that you can use to take down your foes, from the standard R1 combos to heavy strike combos with R2, or mixing it up with both buttons to dish out the pain. If you hold down L1 and press R2, then you can throw your shield, and if you hold L2 and press R1 or R2 and do either a warp strike combo or a warp pass backslash style attack, The free flowing of combat and its possibilities are endless, as the combat system is incredibly deep, with your ability to unlock more and more moves, such as an evasive slide after dodging, a round trip Captain America style shield throw, and to be able to curb stomp. In a way, it's effectively a one-hit kill type of maneuver by pressing R3 on smaller enemies, and so much more. Being able to level up your skills multiple times and gain new abilities and combos just goes to show the level of depth of the combat system. When in battle, you can attack with light or heavy attacks, and you'll need to be nimble on your feet to be able to dodge incoming attacks, as well as block attacks, as well as parry them. Parrying attacks requires key timing, as you'll need to press L1 at the right moment to open up enemies to either press R3 and curb stomp and kill them, or reflect back enemy shots to them. The only time you won't be able to block or parry attack is when your enemy glows red, or when there's a red AoE or area of effect attack that will knock you down and do massive damage. On the flip side, when the enemy glows blue, you can parry their attack also, which will leave them stunned. If you fill up your Archon Fury by attacking and taking damage from enemies, then you can press L3 and R3, which will allow you to activate the state, which is similar to Devil May Cry's Devil Trigger, or God of War's Kratos' Fury, which boosts all your attacks significantly and allows you to gain invincibility for a finite amount of time. You'll pick up various equipment to use, such as amulets, rings, charms, banners, and more, which will give you various buffs and stat boosts to Orin. There's crafting, which is called forging, which allows you to upgrade your equipment with various resources that you collect throughout the game, and even salvage weapons that you won't have use for. Enchanting is another form of upgrading your weapons and your gear for significant stat boosts and buffs, which are critical to progression in the game. Weapons are found by defeating enemies and range from swords, great swords, dual swords, polearms, hammers, warhammers, and axes. Weapons can be anywhere from common to legendary status, a la Destiny and Diablo, with each giving you different advantages in battle based on what enemy you end up facing, as some enemies fall quickly to swords or warhammers versus other weapons. So take your time in learning each of the weapons that you have and each of your enemies and their weaknesses. The final area I will cover as far as gameplay is the customization, with being able to change out Orin's Valor plate with several others, giving him not only a new look but also various abilities and buffs. Some even change his gender from male to female, which is pretty cool. Now, graphically speaking, this game is gorgeous and shiny as hell. The amount of detail that is in every character, from Orin to Macros to the Seventh Sanctum and more, are all incredibly well made and detailed, and it really shows off the graphical power of the PlayStation 5. The environments have an incredible amount of detail in them, from the flora and fauna all the way down to the details in the flowing of water, fire, and more. The texture detail in the various terrain that we traverse is stunning, almost lifelike, as if you are in those areas. Each of the characters that you come across in the story look not only detailed, but again also very shiny, which is, in my opinion, really cool. The enemy soldiers that you fight look like a cross between medieval knights mixed with Roman Spartans mixed with futuristic cyberpunk aesthetics, wielding everything from swords, polearms, axes, and even guns. You also have other non-human like enemies, from wizards to beastmen and more, that all look awesome, bringing about a very vibrant world to life. Now, you can run the game in one of two modes, being fidelity mode or performance mode. Fidelity mode prioritizes running the game at 4K with extra details in the characters and a locked 30 frames per second, whereas performance mode lowers the resolution slightly and optimizes the game to run at 60 frames per second for more fluid gameplay. I personally kept the game in the performance mode because the fast fluid gameplay of 60 frames per second and up is just how I prefer to play almost all of my games if given the choice. There's online multiplayer with up to 2 additional people to do various things, from taking down bosses to hunting specific enemies and more, and it's tons of fun with the right group of people. Now, audio wise, this game has that big Hollywood box office hit feel to it when it comes to the audio, as everything sounds grand. The voices of Orin, his brother Macros, the Seventh Sanctum, and more all sound just as godlike as they look. The enemies that you encounter, from the soldiers to the monsters to the various bosses, all have a uniqueness to them that just feels perfect and in no way forced or hammy like some other titles. Orin legit sounds every bit like a wise and just king who is hell-bent on stopping his power-hungry brother, whereas Macros comes across as a very conniving and cunningly cutthroat warrior set on becoming a god at any and all costs. When you're in levels that have forestry in them, such as rustling leaves, wind-blown trees, rivers, and waterfalls and more, all have a very organic and real sound to them, especially if you're listening with headphones on. The clashing of steel on flesh and metal has that weighty crunch that you'd want them to have and sound oh so perfect. Thus far, I've given a lot of praise, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of negatives from other outlets and reviewers about this game. Do I agree with the criticisms of the game that have been raised, such as grinding in nature, overly long fights, nonsensical story, being too much like Anthem, and the like? No, I actually don't, because I think this game is perfectly fine, and I'm unsure of what and how these critics are bashing the game, other than not taking the time to learn how the game plays or understanding the need to craft gear and increase your stats via enchantments and salvaging older unused gear. I often see this game compared to Anthem, a game many hated, and I don't at all see the comparisons to it, as this game doesn't at all play like it, and is a lot of fun when you take the time to learn how the game plays and its mechanics. Is it grindy? I mean, no more than any other looter-based dungeon crawling game, and I don't see why that's a bad thing. The only real downside I have for this game is the fact that there are occasional frame drop issues that occur in hectic battles, and even in that, it's not a common thing that happens, as the game on an average doesn't dip below either frame rate for the modes that you pick, be it fidelity or performance. The sad reality is many top games journalists and YouTubers have effectively killed any chance this game could have had but having a solid active audience because of the constant negative publicity they've given it. What's sadder is the amount of sheep-minded gamers who blindly listen to these people and don't try games for themselves. I've lost count of how many times I've been asked, is Godfall any good? Because I've heard nothing but negative things about this game. Or, I heard Godfall is absolutely terrible. I heard it's terrible. My favorite YouTuber or my favorite journalist said it was absolutely garbage and I'm not gonna touch it, even though I've never played it myself. I just heard it's trash. And this right here is what effectively has poisoned the well for Godfall, because people are gonna fall into one of those two camps, and because that is the energy and mentality that has been stuck to this game, people who don't play games on their own, or in the sense of they don't try games themselves, and they just go with whatever a YouTuber such as myself or a journalist such as myself will say, then they just won't try it. And all those years that the developers have put into this game, time they've sacrificed away from their families and loved ones to make this, goes down the drain because people don't think for themselves. That is the unfortunate downside for this game, is that it has already been labeled, and people from journalists, YouTubers, and more have this mentality of it, and I don't think it's going to be able to overcome that. And that is an unfortunate reality for this game. So with that being said, let's talk about the wrap up of Godfall. With an insanely deep combat system, an interesting world and lore with plenty of mystery for potential future installments, incredible graphics, a fun and fluid multiplayer, and customization features to make Orin all your own, Godfall is a game that is exceptionally well made and incredibly fun that I think any gamer would have an absolute blast playing through. If you want to show off your new PlayStation 5 with a stunning game, then you can't go wrong with this at all. Godfall is the best new launch title that is a killer app must-own title. And that's just a fact. I really enjoyed my time with Godfall. And I think it's very unfortunate that so many people are going to just write this off as a terrible game, or they're going to look at Metacritic and here's the thing. I don't understand why Metacritic is the be all end all, but people are going to go with that. I think from the very few people I've actually seen that have reviewed it and actually played it and enjoyed it, they like it. They really do. It's got a learning curve, but once you get past that, it's really good. Plus a very, very deep combat system. Now, I've seen a lot of the game journalists and YouTubers play this game, like do live streams and show gameplay footage in their review, and not trying to throw shade or put anyone out there, but honestly, it just seems like a lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing when they're playing this game. I mean, look at the Cuphead tutorial guy. He couldn't get past the tutorial level. And these are the type of people who are journalists and YouTubers that are deciding the fate of games. And these are the people that the masses are listening to, which is kind of unfortunate. But I say people should think for themselves, and I think it'd be a lot better off for that. But with that being said, that's the review of Godfall. Again, thank you to Gearbox Studios and Counterplay Games for the opportunity to review this. I'm very, very grateful. And I really hope, if you guys see this, I hope that you guys do make a sequel, because there's so much to this game, so much to be explored, so much lore to be expanded upon, especially after that cliffhanger ending. I want more. I honestly do. But that's my thoughts. What do you guys think? Let's get the conversation going down in the comment section below or in the Discord, with the link being in the description. Do you have Godfall? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it something you're expecting to be the be all end all and the killer app for the next generation of the PlayStation, or is it just a letdown? Whatever your thoughts are, let's get the conversation going down below. And with that being said, I am Mikhail Kasanova, Hawaii content creator, host of Hawaii's #1 podcast and the #1 podcast in the Pacific, the Kasanova Podcast. I stream every single week on twitch.tv/Mikhail Kasanova, so catch me over there. And if you want to pick up Godfall, I will have affiliate links for Amazon, for GameStop, and a couple more. So if you definitely want to pick it up, check the links down below. I do get a bit of a kickback, which goes back into the channel, helping keep this, it keeps the show running. With that being said, if you really enjoyed this, leave a like, leave a comment. And if you loved it, then hey, I appreciate you subscribing if you haven't already subscribed. So with that being said, I'm signing out. I hope you guys have a great one. Stay safe, stay blessed. We're at the end of 2020. And yeah, more games to come, especially here. I hope you guys have a great one. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Be safe. Deuces wow. Too sweet. Be the elite. I'll see you in the next one. Happy gaming. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. I really want to say mahalo and gracias for doing so. It is truly amazing that I have people that actually enjoy my content. I mean, you made it to the end of the video, so I assume you enjoyed it. If you didn't, hey, there's a dislike button you can always hit. I know, some people like to do that, but hey, whatever. I just am appreciative of the fact that you came through, you watched it, you got to this point. If you want to do me a solid, go ahead and hit the like button if you really liked it. And if you loved it, go ahead and sub for more content like this. If you want to support my work, we've got channel memberships, we got Patreon, and all that will pop up somewhere on the screen here and linked down below. Your support means a lot to me. If you know someone who would enjoy this type of content, go ahead and share it. That's what matters most. You guys watching it and sharing it with someone who might enjoy it, a friend, who knows. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Mahalo again, gracias, and fa'afatai. I will see you on the next one. Yeah, there's 3 different languages I spoke there. So Hawaiian, Spanish, and Samoan. So gives you a little detail as to what I'm mixed with. But with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all stay blessed, stay safe, and yeah, happy gaming, happy streaming. Have a good one.